The fiery TMC MP Mahua Moitra has been expelled from Parliament for the first time ever. This has happened based on a report by the Ethics Committee that accused her of unethical behaviour on 2 counts for sharing her login credentials with an outsider, and secondly, for accepting gifts from a businessman in return for asking questions in Parliament. Now, there was a heated debate that took place in Lok Sabha today, during which Mahua was not allowed to speak. She walked out. The speaker said that she had been given a chance to speak before the Ethics Committee. Then there was a vote, and the vote was that she should be expelled. Now, reacting to her expulsion, Mahua Moitra herself has said that she's been found guilty of a breach of a code that doesn't exist. And she said that the Ethics Committee panel findings are based on 2 testimonies, one of whom is a former partner of hers with whom she has had an acrimonious breakup. And the second is from a person who has a completely opposite point of view, and so none of this is actually valid. Mamata Banerjee has actually stood by Moitra and said that the party stands with her. The CPM has said that this is a black day for Parliament. All of the opposition MPs led by Sonia Gandhi walked out of Lok Sabha while that voting was taking place. Now, this is the first time in our Lok Sabha that a member of Parliament has been expelled because of a report of the Ethics Committee. Here, let's take a look at what has happened so far and why this is receiving a lot of criticism. Well, to understand what has happened so far, we have to first understand the key characters in this story. To begin with, of course, the lead character is Mahua Moitra herself. Then there's Nishikant Dubey, who's the BJP MP who accused her, with whom she has an ongoing rivalry. She accused him of forging his MBA degree, and that was something that he took very strongly. The third character here is Darshan Hirandani of the Hirandani group, who has been, in this accusation, the person who allegedly gave her the gifts. Jay Anant Dehrdai is a lawyer and Mahua's former partner, based on both of their admissions. Like, they had a really bad breakup because she has filed several complaints with the police against him of harassment, and the both of them fought over custody of their dog. The dog in question is this, Henry. Now, what had happened effectively, that this was a dog that they shared when they were together. And then after the breakup, apparently, Dehrdai snuck into her house and took away the dog and some of his belongings. She filed a complaint, then the dog was returned to her. And on Twitter, when this entire thing was happening, Dehrdai actually put out a tweet saying, "This is for Henry." So Henry is a really important character in this story. Now, also we understand, to begin with, it was Dehrdai who wrote to Nishikant Dubey saying, this is what Mahua Moitra has done and this is why you should take it up against her. So it all really starts with the dog. Let's take a flashback to the timeline of what has happened so far. Now, back in October, on the 15th of October, Nishikant Dubey actually wrote to the Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla saying that he has evidence based on Dehrdai. He has evidence that Mahua has in fact accepted gifts from a businessman in return for asking questions that target the Prime Minister and Gautam Adani in Parliament. Now, Dubey alleged that 50 out of the 61 questions that she had asked in Parliament were in fact done with the intent of protecting the business interests of Darshan Hirandani, who at that point it said that was up against Adani or was competing with Adani for certain projects from the government. Now, in response to this, Mahua filed a defamation case against Dubey and against Dehrdai and against the media for carrying the story, and the Lok Sabha Speaker sent the complaint to the Ethics Committee. Now, when the matter of the defamation reached the Delhi High Court, there was a surprise affidavit that popped up in time. Now, that affidavit came from Darshan Hirandani, who had accepted that he had actually given her gifts, that he found her intimidating and he couldn't say no to her. And also he alleged that she handed over the login ID and password of her Lok Sabha login so that he could post the questions on her behalf. He also said that he had bought her gifts and she was trying to target the Prime Minister using questions about Gautam Adani. Now, Mahua in return had, on response, it said that he only gave her one scarf as a birthday present, and she put it up on Twitter saying, this is the scarf, this is the lipstick, this is the eyeshadow that he's given me, and it's really not expensive gifts, nothing that I could have bought on my own. But by that time, the Ethics Committee had convened and they heard statements from Moitra, from Dubey, and from Anant Dehrdai. Now, in his submission, Dehrdai had said that he'd witnessed firsthand phone conversations between Mahua and Hiranandani about the exchange of gifts. And because her headphones were broken, she was actually speaking on speakerphone, and that's how he heard that conversation. She, in return, she had admitted that she did give her password to Darshan Hirandani's team to use, but everybody does that. She said it's not unusual to do so. No MP types his own question. Other people do it for us, she said. But on the 2nd of November, when that hearing actually happened, she marched out of the Ethics Committee hearing, saying that they were asking irrelevant and disgusting questions about her personal life, and it was not relevant at all to the actual case. Questions like, who do you talk to at night? How many times do you talk to them? Can you give me those call details? Which hotel did you stay in with so-and-so? How often have you stayed there? In the last 5 years, where have you traveled? And all of these questions. Does his wife know about this? And things like that. So it got really, according to Moitra, personal. And so she walked out of there. Now, here's the thing. The Ethics Committee has, in that particular meeting, there were 11 members. 5 out of those 11 members were opposition MPs. The rest were BJP MPs. All 5 marched out and left that meeting because they all agreed that the chairman's behavior was inappropriate. After they left, the voting happened, and the remaining MPs, who were all BJP MPs, voted against Moitra, which is why she and the rest of the opposition MPs said that this was what they call a fixed match. The Ethics Committee report came out, and it actually recommended the expulsion of Mahua. For the first time since the existence of this Ethics Committee, such expulsion has been recommended by the committee at all. 6 out of those 10 members of the Ethics Committee voted in favour of that report, and of course that report had to be tabled before Parliament. Now, Danish Ali he's also a BSP MP. He's an opposition MP. He was part of that committee. He has written a dissent note in which he said that the conclusion of this inquiry and the draft report was a fixed match from day one. He said, how can there be 2 sets of rules, one for the ruling party members and one for the opposition members? You'll remember Danish Ali was the target when Ramesh Biduri of the BJP used really terrible language against him, which was communal in nature. That also went to the Ethics Committee, but there's been no sort of recommendation from the Ethics Committee on that matter, which is why Danish Ali said, how come for BJP MPs there's a different sort of set of rules, and for opposition MPs there's a different set of rules. Now, the Home Ministry has submitted a background note on this report in which it argued that there are several documents posted on the Lok Sabha website which are not in the public domain, and they're sensitive. And so when you hand over your login credentials to an outsider who's not an MP, you're actually risking the leakage of sensitive documents, and that could be detrimental to national security. So when national security was brought in, this whole thing became far more sensitive. Now, between mid-October, remember 15th October is when all of this started, until the 9th of November, the Herdai used to regularly post continuously about his dog and the fact that he missed his dog. And he said his dog had been kidnapped, and on the 9th of November, he said his dog had been returned to him. Remember, he was the one who started all of this. So the main character remains at this point Henry the dog. Back to today, this is what has happened. Lok Sabha has expelled the Trinamool Congress MP. There was a 475-page Ethics Committee report that was tabled before the Lok Sabha. The House was adjourned because opposition members actually protested, and the resolution of the voice vote, without allowing Moitra to speak, suggested that she be expelled. Now, I do want to point out that a little later in the evening today, Janata Dal MP Giridhar Yadav has also said that he doesn't upload his own questions onto the Lok Sabha website himself. He does not know how to operate a computer, so he has to actually give his sign-in to somebody else to do it. And he is also a member of the Ethics Committee panel who was among those MPs who staged a walkout. And he basically said that, this was absolutely not okay. So the question is, what happens now? Well, we understand legally that Moitra can appeal against her expulsion in court. She's, of course, not an MP as of today because she does stand expelled. The Ethics Committee report, interestingly, has accused her of unethical conduct. It has also recommended, while she be expelled, that there be, and I'm quoting, an intense legal institutional inquiry by the central government in a time-bound manner. So there's also a question here of this committee report that A has found her guilty of something, but is also asking for an institutional inquiry into what they call serious misdemeanors on the part of Mahua Moitra and calls for severe punishment. The committee has recommended she be expelled. Now, the question is, has there been any sort of precedent? Has this ever happened before? Well, back in 2005, there was a Cobra Post sting that showed 10 members of Rajya Sabha actually accepting cash, like physical cash, in return for asking queries in Rajya Sabha. Now, those members were in fact expelled, and the Supreme Court upheld their expulsion. In this case, the opposition MPs and some lawyers are arguing that since there's no real evidence of her accepting cash, and the evidence of her accepting expensive gifts is also so far limited to what she has said that she has received, that there is a possibility that she could go to court and argue further. But as of now, the opposition accusing and alleging that the entire ethics committee report should not be trusted because, one, it was tilted by majority BJP members, that the questioning that was done was not proper, that there is not proper evidence, and it's likely that Mahua might go to court now to appeal against her expulsion.